Our guest today, Ssn2, is a young lady driven by sheer passion in running a confectionery business. A keen eye for detail has helped her maintain a satisfied clientele with intentions of scaling up and helping others in the process. Welcome to Tuzidi na Hustle, a show that highlights young Kenyan entrepreneurs through their losses, lessons, and wins. I'm your host, Kimathi. How are you beautiful people? I hope everyone is keeping safe, you and your loved ones, na sanitize more oftenly, enjoying life, being positive, and most importantly, Tuzidi na Hustle. Welcome once again. Our hashtag is Tuzidi na Hustle. Engage with us, talk to us, and it's time we introduce our lovely guest. How are you doing? I love the pink, the drip, the swag.
Thank you very much.
Everything looking amazing.
Thank you.
Tell us your name and what is it that you do?
All right, my name is Ssn2 Jerry. I am a baker by passion.
Before we get to the passion,
yes,
let's start in the beginning. How did you get to teaching before getting to baking?
Okay, I grew up in a family that is full of teachers. Wow. My mom is a teacher, my dad is a teacher. So sometimes I think when you're growing up, the family, what your family does kind of makes you incline into what they do.
Yes.
So I used to gather my cousins and teach them like simple things like mathematics, 1 + 1 and all that. So gradually I went to high school. So when I got to high school, one of my subject selections was home science. But then as I went to Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, by the time I was in Form 4, I was kind of sure what I wanted. And then I'd see my dad go to high school. He was teaching at Alliance Boys. So I'd go visit him when he's in class. I'd feel very encouraged. I'm like, okay, this is nice, imparting knowledge to other people.
To the youth.
Yes. So it encouraged me. So after high school, I went to college and trained as a teacher, as a primary school teacher. Then gradually I went and did early childhood. And then I also trained on the Montessori.
Early childhood is kindergarten?
Yes, early childhood is kindergarten. Then Montessori is a different way of teaching, but I also went for training for that.
And at that time, had you discovered your passion, or had you fallen in love with baking?
Yes, I had.
Were you juggling those two, or teaching was your main focus?
Actually, teaching was my main focus. So my baking passion started when I was little. We would bake cakes with my mom. So we would do a jiko. You take a jiko, take a sufuria, put sand, then mix your cake. That time there were no measurements. You just take a normal thermos cup. Just do your guesswork, because baking is a chemistry. So we would just do things and put them together, and it would end up working very well.
Wow. At what point did you decide to make the transition from just having the passion to bake to a business now?
I would go to parties, like my cousins' parties, and I would always go with cake.
Okay.
So I'd see the way people are enjoying the cake, and I'm like, okay, this could be something I can do for myself. And it's something I loved. I would not charge anyone for cake.
So everyone was getting a free cake?
Yes, they were.
Hey, I wish I was your cousin.
Now we're friends. You still get cake.
Okay.
So I approached one of my aunts. I'm like, your daughter's birthday is coming up. Your son's birthday, actually. We share a birthday.
Wow.
The same day. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to sell you the cake. So she was very happy about it. Yeah.
Did you need any capital? Or what was your initial capital at first?
My initial capital was, I think, less than 3,000.
Wow.
Because what I needed to start baking was a cooking stick, wooden cooking stick. I needed a bowl. I needed a baking tin. And of course, there are other little tiny things like a palette knife and a sew knife, just to be able to decorate your cake. So, because I started simply, I didn't just dive in. And I used to do it from my mom's kitchen.
So like, how do you progress? How did you just manage to progress?
My brother is also a person who's very entrepreneurial. So he looked at me and decided, you know what? I'm gonna grow your passion, because you look like you want to do this.
Yes.
But then resources were very little. Remember, I was a teacher, and a teacher's salary. Yeah. So my brother decided to go to Brampton's and bought us an oven. So when we started, my mom also quit her teaching job.
Wow, so it was transitioning to a family business.
Yes, it was. So my mom quit her teaching. That was in 2009. So my mom quit her teaching job. I also quit my teaching job. Then decided to go fully fledged into a bakery. So we turned my mom's small kitchen into a manufacturing bakery.
Yeah.
So we started baking scones. You know, those ones that people eat with soda.
Namachai, who doesn't know scones?
So we started with scones, then small mandazis. Those ones that are bite size. You just buy in a small pack. There are like 10 of them. You just go biting. And then we also did queen cakes.
When it comes to marketing, because I always feel like marketing is very essential, especially when a business is new, or even if an established business, marketing is always the way to go, because
yes, it is.
I mean, the structure is changing each and every day. What are some of the lessons that you picked along that has helped you or are still helping you to date?
All right. The first and foremost, the main thing is customer is king. So if you have, like when you start a business, when we started the baking business, we just didn't start by selling. What we did, we went around all the places we had already identified where we're going to sell, and we gave like the shopkeeper or the supermarket people a few free products for their customers to taste. Because now we were going to an industry that is that was already saturated by the big bakeries, you know, those huge bread bakeries, cake bakeries, and you're just a small business starting from the house. And it's not for the faint-hearted. No, because we would take products to a shopkeeper. One of them tasted, I remember one vividly. He tasted, he looked at us and said, "What are these you're selling?" Like, this is nothing. I cannot buy such a thing.
So you really need a thick skin.
You need a very, very thick skin.
And currently, give us a structure of your business. What normally happens? What is it that you do? What services do you offer?
All right. So that was my mom and myself doing from my mom's kitchen. So I later on, the business became very shifty because product ingredients started becoming expensive. For example, flour and sugar. So we couldn't sustain the business. So we closed down the business. Yes, the business closed down. And then what did Esther do? She fell back on her initial
teaching career.
So I did the early childhood for close to 1.5 years. But then after I graduated, I went and taught at a school. I volunteered at a school. Yes. In the hopes that they would see how good I was and they would give me a permanent job. But that did not happen. Yes. So that's when I decided, you know what? I'm quitting. I'm pursuing my passion. Nothing is going to stop me.
Back to your calling.
Back to my calling. So that's 2014. I decided to fully go back to my calling. So I just went to a bakery store in town. That's when I had my 3,000 Kenya shillings. I bought a nice baking tin, a Juakali baking tin. Then I bought a few tools that we might see later to be able to help me do my cake decorating. And then I backed up. My teacher was YouTube.
School of YouTube.
Yes.
What are some of the misconceptions Kenyans have about cakes when it comes to cakes? Unajua kuna zile misconception wa Kenya wengi wanawanga nazo from your professional point of view and someone who has dealt with so many customers. All right. Like in Kenya, one of the big things that we go through is a customer comes to you, they have a photo of a cake. This cake, probably someone made it from, of course, not in Africa. So, because they go to Pinterest and get photos. So the person comes and tells you, here is cake. Here is the image of a cake that I want. But then they don't put into consideration the raw materials that we have here in Kenya are not the same as what you would get in the US or in the UK or even like in Europe. So the customer comes hell-bent on, this is what I want and these are the flavors I want. Some of these flavors we cannot be able to make. They're not accessible. Yes, they're not accessible at all. So you would have to invest a lot in getting access to such flavors, but then the customer does not want it reflected on their prices. Currently, what is the name of your business? And tell us what variety of cakes do you make?
Name of my business is Esther's Bakes for You. During my hustling of the baking and looking for clients and all that, I happened to travel to Dubai. On my way back, in my flight, I was seated next to a tall gentleman who's Dutch. So he was busy doing his business, typing away, but then my eyes couldn't help but snoop a bit. So when I snooped, I saw him typing a name of a product that I used to use.
Wow.
I'm like, hi, I'm so sorry, I don't do this a lot, but then I saw you typing something to do with baking ingredients. Are you a baker? So he told me, sure, yes, I am. I'm like, oh, wow, I'm also a baker. So I told him my story. Then he told me his story. He works for a Dutch company that makes baking ingredients.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, but I had never heard of them before then.
Yeah.
So he told me what he's coming to do in Kenya. They were planning to open up something. So, and he said they were looking for bakers. He asked me whether I'd be interested, but I was very straight with him. I told him, I'm not a baker by profession. This is a passion. I turned into a career.
It's a business.
He said, I am looking for bakers like you who have the passion. So that was in 2015. So 2016, they came back to Kenya. So they were looking for, they looked for me again because they wanted someone who would be doing part-time training. Part-time training of the ingredients to customers. So for them, the company is called Zealandia, East Africa. So for them, I would do quality control of the products they produce, and then also train bakers how to use the ingredients.
What are some of the basic qualities that you need to start a business and sustain it?
The main thing is passion. Because baking is not for the faint-hearted. Sometimes you get orders of a cake, especially if you're doing a wedding cake. It does not take a day. It does not take 2 days. It does not take 3 days to do a wedding cake. It can take you more than a month. For example, if someone comes and orders a cake and they want like 100 rose flowers draping on their cake, that is work. You'll sit down and mold each petal one by one. Procrastination, please stop. Don't procrastinate. If you mean to start, go and dive in head first. But of course, you have to have a plan.
And before we move to part 2, on to the next stage of the show, where definitely I'll get to decorate a cake. I don't know. I don't know what is it that Esther will make me do. There's a challenge, and you guys will see at home. Misa nishaza kusalivate, and we're gonna take a short commercial break, pay some bills. Lakini before we take that break, social media handles zako ni gani?
Esther's Bakes for You on Facebook, and then on Instagram I use Esyngugi, ESYNGUGI. Yes, that's on Instagram.
We'll be right back for part 2 in a jiffy.